Welcome to the Homeschool Together podcast. Where one working mom and a stay-at-home dad help you navigate the nuts and bolts of the growing and dynamic world of homeschooling.
With a focus on early learners, like me.
All the ins and outs of building and maintaining your homeschool life.
Homeschool.
Find out tips and tricks to make things like this easier.
I'm reading.
And ultimately, enjoy educating your kids. And what's that last thing?
Have fun together. Did I do good, Daddy?
Yeah, you did, sweetie. Good job. Hello and welcome to Homeschool Together. Thanks so much for joining us. We have all the show notes, all the links down in the description below, as well as our social media and our links to our Gumroad and our iTunes for you to leave us a review if you feel so inclined. And well, who are they sharing it with us now? They had the lady in the shopping place. They had the guy in the elevator pulling over the side of the road and yelling at people. What are they going to do? They're going to what? Big banner out front of their house? That's right. Homeschool Together banners would be available on our Gumroad store for those massive,
You're so weird.
20-foot prints to put on your front of your house to promote the podcast. We appreciate your support. All half price to all premium members.
You are so weird.
It's been a long day. Anyway, so we had today was a first year homeschooling journey. It's just one of our favorite things that Ariel and I have been doing for the last 2 years or so, is interviewing homeschoolers who've been talking about their first year of homeschooling. And that can be really scary to a lot of people when they're just getting started and all of that. And what was wonderful about today with Elise Taylor was the fact that Elise used to be a first grade, I think also a kindergarten teacher, and she was also a teacher at a gifted school as well. So she had this enormous amount of teaching experience as well as a lot of tutoring experience, and not only just tutoring, but also tutoring homeschool families. And so she spent a lot of time in the education space before she actually began to homeschool her own daughter and hopefully her second daughter, who you will hear periodically, who is 2 months old and was with Mama while during our interview. There might have been a few little noises here and there, but we tried to clean them up as much as possible. But this was really, really fun. This is a great example, I think, more than anything, is how flexible homeschooling is to a family. They're relocating from LA to the New Mexico area because they're in the film industry. The complications of moving and then homeschooling and then education and the school districts may not have as strong of schools, and so she decided to start homeschooling, and she indicates that she's going to go pretty far, maybe at least through elementary school. Spoilers. I know. But, just talking about how adaptive homeschooling is and how many, unique things that they can, that homeschooling can fit in. It's like a Lego piece that kind of morphs and it can fit into any location that you want. And I think today's interview really showed that. And, I enjoyed it. And I think we're going to have a follow-on interview with Elise about her education background that maybe hopefully will help us learn to be better teachers. That's one of the things I think a lot of us as homeschooling parents want to do, is become better teachers. So maybe we're going to have another interview with her as well to kind of talk about that. But did you have anything?
Yeah. I really felt like this was a great interview. I love First Year Homeschoolers because it's a really interesting perspective. So often when you listen to other homeschool podcasts or you read, especially when I read like other homeschool blogs, it's, that person who's been doing this forever. They have four children. They feel like they're, very experts. And so I like these first year interviews because it's great. We're getting people right as they're starting and hearing some of their challenges and their, the forming, storming, norming stages of team growth, right? I kind of feel like this is similar, right? Where this is their
that went full corporate there.
It did go full corporate.
You're making fun of my jokes about the big banners out front of people. You're going full corporate.
Well, I feel like this is the forming stage, right, of homeschool where, this is your first year when, whatever you did during preschool, it kind of doesn't count because this is now kindergarten. So, you have now made a conscious choice this first year to choose a different path than the one that is kind of laid out for everyone, which is to just put your child in public school kindergarten. And so I love hearing this first year and how they kind of figure things out. And for Elise, it was a very chaotic year with having a new baby. And she talks about kind of how they coped with homeschool through that. I love to hear that, because I think that those blogs also and some of those YouTube channels give us this appearance that homeschooling has great light and everyone's quietly working on stuff, and doesn't talk about the times when it can be chaotic, when you are in the middle of something going on as a family, like having a new baby or an illness where, or a move or whatever it is you're going through. And you're just like finding times to make learning happen, even if it's not like, let's pull out the curriculum book every minute.
Exactly.
And that's still homeschooling, and that's still such valuable learning time and such valuable family bonding time. So I think this interview was really great from that perspective, just to see this is like the reality of it, and how it can work for your family and how you can still find those educational opportunities. So without further ado, let's get into this great interview with Elise. Hi, Elise. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And your little one there, thanks for joining us too. So can you tell us a little bit about your family and what drove your decision to start homeschooling?
Yeah, well, I live in New Mexico with my husband, who's a cameraman, and we actually just moved from LA about a year ago because the film industry is taking off here. And the housing prices are much better. So that drove our decision to move. And I have a 6-year-old daughter and a 2-month-old daughter. And we also have a wild Australian Shepherd named Indiana Jones, who definitely keeps us on our toes.
Nobody's in the family named after the dog.
We thought about it. If we were going to have a son, because we always both liked the name Indiana. And my husband Brian's like, if we kept to the movie, we should name our son Indiana because the dog's name was Indiana. But the grandparents didn't really enjoy that. My mom's like, you can't have both boys in the house named Indy. That's ridiculous.
I actually have a cousin who married a boy, and he is the same name as her family dog. Yeah. And that was a little bit weird. so, good play. Why homeschooling for you? I definitely, you must have kind of an interesting life with your husband doing camera work. That's not like a normal 9 to 5. Did that help kind of drive your decision to go towards that?
I think it's just a benefit because we had already kind of decided. Well, he was always a cameraman, but we did decide homeschooling like for different reasons. And I would say it has a lot to do with the safety in schools. And then where we live right now is ranked 50 out of 50 in terms of school systems. So it's the worst in the country. So that definitely is a factor. But we still were considering homeschooling when we lived in California, but we were going to join one of those charter schools. And so that way we could have like the social aspects of a school. And just being in the classroom also drove me to homeschool because I don't really want that environment for my daughter. And I don't really agree with how much work is expected for 5-year-olds.
So, and so just for our listeners, you have a little bit of teaching background, a little bit, I say jokingly.
Yeah. So I can't even remember how long I taught first grade for. It was over 10 years and at a private school in Los Angeles. And then I switched schools and taught kindergarten at a school for the highly gifted for about a year and a half. And then I went on maternity leave and then started tutoring part-time and also like consulting for other families that were homeschooling and being their homeschool tutor. So I did that. I'm still doing that actually part-time. So I probably tutor about 3 or 4 hours a week.
What was homeschooling? Was it ever anything on your radar with respect to something that you thought you would do, or did it just kind of come out of nowhere as the main option to choose for educating your kid?
It actually came out of researching because when my baby was born and all the parents at the school I worked at, the gifted school, saw pictures and they're like, oh, she's like your students, like she's gifted, I bet, just based on how alert she was. It was kind of ridiculous, but I was Googling things like that, late one night, and I came across the My Little Poppies blog. Do you know that one?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I just kept saying like, oh, this family, they're having so much fun. They're playing games. Like, oh, that's exactly what I want for my life. Like I want to be that family. And so that's what introduced me to homeschooling. And then you fall down the homeschool research rabbit hole and, and the rest is history.
Did you end up settling on a certain type of homeschooling that you liked? Like whether it's unschooling or Charlotte Mason, there's so many different varieties out there. Was there something that really captured you?
Yeah, I think we're best fit in the game schooling category.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
obsessed with board games. We have like, I don't even know. We have them all around the house. There's like, you open a crevice and there's like a game crammed.
I am neither going to confirm nor deny that our house looks like that too.
Yeah. And then you go on the Amazon deals and it's like a game for like, 14 and up, but it's like $9. So of course I got to buy that and save it. So my closet's like packed with like advanced games that
I totally know.
You
My husband's
you and Ariel could do a whole episode on like game storage. And...
Yeah, he's like, why did you buy this? Like, we're not going to play this for 10 years. I go, it was on sale.
Yeah, like just this week you apologized. You said a box is coming. And I don't apologize to anyone except myself.
Yeah, it was like my Game Nerds order just finally had to get released for customer hold. I'm sorry.
Oh, I have like $170 in the Game Nerds shopping cart that I'm just like waiting to hit.
The customer hold feature is so amazing. So you don't have to ship it all at once,
Yeah.
but eventually it does expire and they just ship it to you. So I was like, I usually try to choose a strategic time for them to ship that box, but they just sent it since my 6 months was up. And so
Yeah. And right before I delivered, I ordered a bunch of games on Miniature Market because I was like, oh, well, my daughter and I can, play games in bed while I'm nursing. So that was before I even bought another car seat. I was like, I got to get the game order in.
Priorities.
I
There's
love
always
it.
priorities.
So game schooling was really attractive to you.
Yeah. So I
were
think
there?
we do that. And then I follow Kate Snow's math curriculums. I love those. Kindergarten Math with Confidence. We're just about finishing up and then we'll do first grade. And then All About Reading just to have like a bit, we loosely follow it, but just so I can get all the phonetics there.
Yeah. Those are, we also did kindergarten math at home with Torchlight Pre-K.
Yes, a little bit of that. Yeah.
Or was it
yeah.
the one before that? Anyways, we've done Kate Snow Math. That's really good.
Yeah. The preschool math at home.
Preschool
Right?
math.
Preschool math.
Yeah, I
we
think
did
that's the
preschool
one.
one. Yeah, because we jumped right into the Right Start Math.
Yeah.
After that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
is a good one.
Right Star looks great too. I have the game book, so we'll mix and match. I kind of like do a Frankenstein type curriculum where I just like, take bits and pieces of everything because I own Torchlight, I own Build Your Library, I have tons of Moffat girls from Teacher Paid Teachers and like critical thinking, logic books and games, and I just kind of mash it all together and call it my own.
Yeah, it's hard to resist that, pull to make your own thing.
Mhm.
You have all these things that are supposed to be like curated for you and you can put them all, hey, just open and go, just do this thing. But it's like, but I want more. And I think that everyone kind of does that. I don't know if anyone really just does the open and go thing. We all seem to mess with it.
Yeah, and like everyone tries to combine Torchlight and Build Your Library, and then it just creates this like more work for yourself as you're like trying to organize.
Right.
Like I had a big binder trying to organize them all by countries, and I think I spent like 3 hours doing that. I was like, why did I do that?
Oh yeah, we have 5 binders all by countries.
Yes.
We'll talk later. Yes, we with our combo. Yes,
And I ended
it
up
worked out
doing
nice.
my own thing anyway.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it's like it kind of sets you down. It sparks your own creativity and like, oh, I see what they did. Oh, that's great. I'm going to take most of that. And then I'm going to add these other things in. And all of a sudden, yeah, you're right. You've made a whole nother project for yourself.
Exactly. And then I spend like a month on every country and it just lasts for a decade, I guess.
Right.
We're going to be doing Torchlight K for a decade.
Put it on
totally know.
Put it on the resume for the application for
It's
Harvard.
funny.
Yeah.
We're finishing up
Doing
Africa.
Torchlight K for 12 years.
Yeah, we're just about like we're gonna start on Australia and then we're going to Antarctica. We're gonna be like we're kind of getting that we're ready to be done stage because we've been doing it for a long time, right? as fun as it is. So I like 100% know where you're coming
I really
from.
enjoy your videos, and I'm completely the same way, like pulling like everything. Like, yeah, we watch a bunch of Studio Ghibli's and like all that stuff. Like
Yep.
we're like living parallel lives.
That's great. So in taking these curriculum and kind of making them your own and doing things, how does your teaching experience come into that when you're looking at something and going like, okay, I see what they were going for here, but I know what teaching kindergarten, first grade is like, I'm going to add these extra things. Does it have a big influence on how you approach making modifications?
Definitely. And I think it also like it tells me what not to do, because I'm really careful about not making things seem too schooly. Like my daughter will, like when we're playing, just today, I made the mistake. I bought like a new game and I was like, oh, it's like a learning game for like alphabet sounds. She's like, I don't want to play a learning game. Like, oh man, no. But then she begrudgingly played that. And then she's like, well, I get to pick the next game. And then the next game she picked had even more learning. It was Rat-a-tat-cats. It was like filled with math. So I should have just kept my mouth shut and let her pick the first game. But,
I know we're always like, hey, let's play, my first whatever here. And she's like, no, Mom, I want to play Space Base.
Yeah. Right.
Like, well, I don't think we're ready. But then she's reading all the cards. I'm like, maybe I should just let you play Space Base.
Yeah, exactly. Basically just give in and play what they want to play, because they're going to be more interested and they're still going to be learning anyway. But I definitely don't make her write as much as we did in the classroom, because I would see students, especially at the gifted school, they would have like such great ideas and like wonderful storytelling. And then they would be expected to write it all on a piece of paper using correct punctuation. And they would bring us these big stories and be like, oh, it's amazing. But, you have to have a capital here or a period here. And then you would just see their face just like melt. And like, it just takes all the joy out of learning. And I really, really don't want to do that with my daughter. So I'm very careful about that. I want to eventually start a reading response journal like we did in my first grade classroom, but I'm kind of afraid that that's going to kill the joy of reading picture books with me. So I'm going to play that by ear.
So what is that? I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, so it's those primary journals where they have a picture, like the top half of the page is blank and then the bottom's like composition style notebooks.
Yep.
Right.
So it's that, and then we would every day in first grade I would read a picture book out loud to the class, and then we would ask them, oh, like how did that make you feel? Or you could draw your favorite part of the story. You could review the book if you wanted to. You could write and draw about a connection you have with the characters. Like we did a Kevin Hankey's unit study. And for example, like the book Wembley Worried, like was there ever a time that you felt worried, or if you had a blanket like the Owen character in Kevin Hankey's, so you could make a connection. So I really like that. And that's something I might take from the first grade curriculum and try to make it work in my homeschool, but without killing the joy of listening to the stories.
Interesting. Do you find yourself pulling in other techniques from the classroom into your homeschool when you're doing your kind of eclectic mix? Or is it more like you're jettisoning things and you're just going more towards a natural learning style?
I think I'm just going more towards a natural learning style.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I have handwriting without tears that we used in first grade, but that's about it. Because handwriting's handwriting.
Sure. It's hard to make that super fun.
Yeah, exactly. We're slowly going through that book, gosh. But yeah, I think I just now incorporate games into everything. And even when I tutor my clients, I'm always gamifying everything and making connect four sheets based on like either CVC words if they're working on that, or long vowels. So I'm trying really hard to make learning fun.
Well, it sounds like you have a busy day. You got the little one, you got the young learner, you got the dog in the back, who's chasing off jackrabbits and things.
What he's doing.
What does your day look like when you're trying to manage this? I know a lot of parents, big struggle. I've seen it on some of the forums on Reddit. People having to deal with younger children while you're teaching. How much of a challenge is that, and what does your day look like?
Yeah, it's really challenging. She's almost 2 months old. And so I haven't been doing too much school at all these last 2 months because I found it was more important to me to just keep having fun with my older daughter so she doesn't get jealous of the new baby. And I don't want to be like, okay, I have 5 minutes to myself, like go get the math book. Let's like do some so instead I was like, okay, we have like a couple, like 10 minutes, like daddy's holding the baby, like go pick out any game you want, or we can play like Mario Kart together or bake cookies. So we've been doing a lot of that, just like free choice, mom and me time. But we have been doing this, do you know Smart Games, that Logic series?
Oh yeah. It's not like they have like Little Red Riding Hood and there's a few others.
The fairy tale series. And then we've been playing a lot of this game called Smart Farmer, where you have to like organize the animals in different like paddocks, but like they also have to have water, but they all have to be separated. And she loves that. And so we've been doing a lot of logic games in the bed while I nurse the baby. And also read alouds. We're reading the Ramona series.
Yep.
Yeah, we just finished the first book in that, and our daughter definitely she had a new perspective, I think, on her little sister after reading the first one.
Yeah, I love those. And then we also watched the movie Ramona and Beezus with I think it's like Selena is in that and like John Corbett. And that's a good movie. You guys should watch that.
Oh yeah, I didn't know there was a movie. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, it's really cool. And like all the Ramona's imaginative scenes they do on green screen. So when she's like playing on the monkey bars, like she imagines herself over the Grand Canyon. It's super fun.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll check that out.
Yeah, and we've been watching a lot of movies too. Like we'll watch like the old Parent Trap and the new Parent Trap. And then you can sneak some learning in because I compare and contrast the two movies and we talk about the differences. So there you go. There's your school for the day.
Yeah, we've been doing musical study too, because it's time with my daughter that's like, well, I want to do something with you, but I want to also teach you something, but there's opportunity for learning everywhere. We were just watching Meet Me in St. Louis last night. And so we were talking about like what the World's Fair was and why they had an ice wagon and just all these different things that's like there's learning just everywhere.
My daughter loved that movie, and she especially liked the part on Halloween where they're like throwing furniture into the fire.
Yes, my daughter was like, is this what Halloween used to be like? I said, well, I mean, according to this movie, she goes, and why are they eating ice cream and cake? She was like, what kind of holiday is this?
I know, like her eyes were so wide. She's like, oh, wow, we're doing Halloween all wrong. Yeah, but we love musicals. Like Sound of Music, we love, and Annie and Into the Woods and Cats, even the latest Cats.
Sacrilege to talk about the latest Cats. I don't know.
I know. We went opening day. My daughter dressed like a cat, and then we owned the DVD of it too. So I've sadly given them way too much money.
Oh, that's funny. We have a really great book. It's called The Definitive History of Musicals. It's a DK book, which we are like in love with DK. And it gives every musical starting in the 20s and
the
forward.
Major ones, right?
Yeah. The major ones that had an influence on the genre. So we started getting movies for everyone. So we started in 1927 with Showboat, and then we moved into Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers movies, and we did Oklahoma, and it gives like a 2-page spread on all of them, and it talks about kind of like why they were significant. So we've been going up in the years and watching how the music and the dancing have changed. It's been really fun. My daughter's really enjoyed it. So I highly recommend that if you guys like musicals.
Yeah, I'll have to get that. My daughter's actually auditioning for her first musical this summer. It's The Little Mermaid, so she has an Ariel song that she's gonna sing.
Oh, that's awesome! Yeah, my daughter wants to audition for Elf that we're going to be doing this winter. I'm stage managing the show, and so she's very interested. Are there any little Elf jobs?
Yeah, I love that. I was a theater major, so I'm definitely like, inside, like the stage mom inside of me is like, yes, your first play.
So your days right now definitely are chaotic with your baby. Can we rewind a little bit talking about what your days look like maybe before your baby was born, and what did you do typically? What was your normal daily plan of attack, or did you have one, or was it still just kind of ad hoc like it is now?
Well, this year was a little bit hard since we moved to a new state. and I was pregnant and just, feeling gross the whole time. And then my husband was like out of town filming for like months at a time. So it was kind of like right when I agreed to do the podcast, I was like, oh no, wait, I don't think I really did anything this year. But then I went back and I was like, well, that's not true. We did art projects. We played a ton of games. We did a ton of read alouds. We almost finished kindergarten math with confidence. So just almost finishing a curriculum is a feat in itself anyway.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that counts.
Yeah, totally. And then we watched a lot of Food Network, and my daughter became obsessed with getting on the kids baking championship. So then we started baking a ton. So we ended up doing a lot this year, even though I think we did nothing. And we started Torchlight and an around the world study. And we did China during the Olympics. And then we did Ireland in March. And then that's all. Then I stopped because I had the baby in April. But a typical day would be, we always have a word of the day. And right now I'm using Mrs. Wordsmith word of the day calendar. And that's a really cool company that has the same animators as movies like Madagascar. And they draw like really funny pictures that go to the word. So we'll do the word of the day. And let's see, yesterday we happened to do it and it was impressive. And so then we do, did you guys ever watch Pee-wee's Playhouse? I'm showing my age.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
we're there with you.
Yeah. So when Pee-wee has the word of the day, and whenever you hear someone say the word of the day, you scream real loud. So we do that. So that makes us, use it in a sentence multiple times a day and then pretend to scream and be all goofy. And she's learning the words that way. And it's more fun than writing out definitions or doing something like that.
That's very cool. I think we might steal that from you.
Yeah. And then Webster's, I think it's Webster's. They just came out with a kids word of the day that I shoved in my Amazon basket, but I haven't bought it yet. But that looks good for when I finish up with Mrs. Wordsmith. And then we have a calendar. I was trying to do a calendar every day. And I ordered one of these calendars off Amazon that looked similar to what I had in the classroom, but I wasn't paying attention to the size. And so we ended up getting this like comically large calendar. It takes up like, I kid you not, like an entire wall of our playroom. And it's just like so awkward to use. And the pieces are so big, like I don't know where to store them. So right now it says January, but it has the February dates and it's just like a mess. It's a hot mess. So
we highly recommend the little Melissa and Doug magnetic one. That one works really well.
We had that and then we lost the pieces of that too. We're a little disorganized, but it's part of our charm.
So maybe catching on to the disorganized mess, where do you tend to do your disorganized mess, and how do you graft your education on top of that?
Yeah, and I used to be a teacher, guys.
This gives me hope. This gives me hope.
We homeschool all over the house, much to my husband's chagrin, because our disorganized mess is now everywhere. But for the most part, I keep all the curriculum and the younger board games and all the books and the learning games in both the playroom and my daughter's room. And then we'll kind of migrate towards the rest of the house because, in All About Reading, there's like the fluency sheets that are very daunting and terrifying. So I will pick maybe 10 words from those and write them on index cards and then hide them all around the house like an Easter egg hunt. And that's the only way I can get my daughter to read the words off that sheet.
You don't just have her sit there and read all 50 words on the front and back of those pages?
No, and like the first time I did it, I was like, okay, let's divide it up and we'll make one, like this box of 6 words will be number 1 and we'll roll dice and we get number 1, we say a word from that one. And so I tried that because I used to do that with my tutoring kids, and the tutoring kids are they're more willing to do things than my daughter is, I guess. Yeah. And then I would put for my daughter like M&Ms on the fluency sheets, and like even that didn't really work. But the only thing that's working is hiding them around the house and then reading them after finding them. So that takes place like in the living rooms, and then we travel all around the house and the backyard. And because a lot of the times during read alouds, I'll have her either like make slime or paint a giant box from Amazon. That's a good
Mhm.
tip if your child's not sitting still and like being too distracted when you're reading aloud. Just grab some trash and have them paint it in the backyard.
Love it.
Teaching tip.
Upcycling the Amazon boxes. I like it.
Yeah, because I get a lot of them.
Do you do a lot of so when you're in the homeschool room or you're around the house or you're outside, do you do a lot of baby wearing while you're doing education and teaching? I did that with our youngest because we were doing, I think, the pre-K torchlight at that time. And my
Yeah.
youngest was about 3 months old, 4 months old, and I would have her on my chest the whole time while I was like kind of walking around the kitchen table and orbiting my daughter, my oldest,
Yeah.
while she's doing her educational stuff. Do you incorporate a lot of that to
Yeah,
help
I've
you out?
always either holding my baby or like wearing her and
Okay.
going around the house with her. Definitely.
Okay. Yeah. Keeping it mobile.
Yeah, that's the way to go. That's definitely the way.
You said your husband's a cameraman. Does he fold into the homeschool in any way? Does he do kind of photography, videography, any type of that with your
Like
oldest?
he introduced my daughter to the concept of green screen. So now we have a green
Perfect.
screen in the living room.
Nice.
It's really cool. And my daughter just naturally, she was wanting to make Barbie videos. And she came over to me. She's like, can you Google a bakery in Paris that specializes in macaroons so I can like put it in the backdrop for the I was like, okay, it's very specific Google, but I'll do my best. He was just naturally making like a French movie. So then I had this idea, and we haven't done it yet, but while we're going around the world, we can make little like green screen movies and use like different places, like different landmarks of each country, and she can have the Barbies travel there. So then like I can incorporate that into our around the world study.
Brilliant. Homeschool Together does this on the next around the world journey.
Yes.
Exactly. So yeah,
That's awesome.
Like if she's already drawn to a project, like might as well incorporate it and have her do something like that she's into.
And that's awesome.
That is so great.
I like that idea.
Don't give Matt any ideas. I could see him. He was like green screen.
$30 on Amazon. Go for it.
I could do so much with an iPhone.
He has so many different, video and camera pieces of equipment that we just don't have time to use. But someday it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah, it's so much fun.
Yeah. So going with the homeschool, the green screen, all the fun stuff that you have, is there like a piece of equipment or something that you do right now that you couldn't live without? Like at this age, I think it was the baby carrier for me. But I mean, what is there something that you have in your homeschool that you couldn't live without, like for crates or some technology or something that you've been
Probably
really liking?
Board games and books.
Board games. Okay.
Yeah, board games for sure.
Okay, well, since you said board games, we're gonna pull in a little bit. What are your top 3 young learner board games right now?
Yeah. Do tell.
Okay, let's see. So
I know I'm putting you on the spot.
It doesn't have to be 3. He arbitrarily made that up.
No worries.
Yeah, but everybody likes lists. I'm
good with lists, but if it's 5, that's cool too.
Let's see. Okay, so Sleeping Queens for sure, because all of a sudden my daughter just knew a bunch of math facts from Sleeping Queens.
And you saw there's a new one coming out, right?
Yes, The Rescue or something it's called.
Rescue,
You're right.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I'm getting that for sure. Sleeping Queens is great. We've been enjoying, we play board games while we eat dinner sometimes. We've been enjoying Go Nuts for Donuts, even though there's not a lot of learning in that one, but that's a fun family game that we like for connection. Like we like those smart games. I like that just for like building up stamina too, because some of those get pretty hard and then your child might want to quit. But I was like, let's just keep going and think about how good you'll feel when you eventually solve it. And it works. And then they solve it and they feel great about themselves. Like some of that, do you know cat crimes?
Yes, I have that on my list to get for our daughter next year.
It's really hard, just warning you. The beginning levels are okay for kids. And then my husband was like, let's just try an expert level, like see how we do. And it was really difficult. It took us like half hour. We were like eating dinner and my daughter was bored and like went off and like did her own thing in the next room. And we're just like, you're not leaving the table and we can solve this stinking crime.
I've been doing a lot of unlock games with some friends of ours, and those can be quite challenging.
Yes.
Very fun.
Is
like
it like
mystery based? It's like a mystery based thing.
No, it's not Think Fun. These are I don't remember who makes Unlock, but they're like an adult series of games, but they're all card based. They've got their Star Wars ones, there's like circus ones, there's all these different ones, and you're always presented with like a first card, and this is the problem. And then there's clues on that card to other numbered cards that you would flip over. And so you're starting to build until you can get through to the end. And there's an app that goes with it, and there's different
really
machines that you have to run and stuff. And there can be some, like we had one time where we weren't supposed to be able to, like, it was silent and we had to turn the sound off. You had to click your phone into vibrate mode, and that like unlocked it because it was partially app based. We had ones before where the backs of the cards all made a map.
No, remember the one where we had to blow up the balloon, and we had to put the phone up to us and blow into the microphone.
Yeah,
and then the balloon started getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah,
it's so neat.
Yeah, it was all like puzzles. They're puzzles and clues and tricks. It's like a mystery thing.
They're only single use, so that's kind of like, but worth it.
Yeah, I'll have to check those out. Yeah, I'm trying to find like a detective game for my daughter that's in between Outfoxed and Clue, because we always win Outfoxed. And I bought something called like Sherlock Express, but we haven't played it yet. I'm hoping that might work. Oh, and I also bought Dinosaur Tea Party, but we haven't played that yet either.
Dinosaur Tea Party is very good, and that is a really good logic deduction. I think that's a great one. My daughter and I just played that the other day, and I think you'll probably find that's really good. There's not a lot of great stuff between Outfoxed and Clue. We did get Clue Junior the other day, which is okay. My daughter actually really liked 13 Dead End Drive.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's
So
like
we
from the
played
90s.
that.
Yeah, old school.
It's old school, but yeah, I think you'll really like Dinosaur Tea Party. I think that's probably what you're looking for once you play it.
Oh, cool.
And of course, it's very acting based because you're in Dinerton Abbey, and you have to ask questions like, "Is that a new hat?" or "I think I saw you at the last tea, and was your name Terrence?" You know, I mean, it was very funny.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Oh, that'll be perfect.
Yeah, it's really good. So I highly recommend it.
Then another game I just bought that I haven't opened it because it looks very intimidating, but it's called Pyramid Arcade by Looney Labs, and it has 50 different games inside. And then also just all these like really pretty pyramids and different game boards and like tons of dice and with like different symbols on it and playing cards. And so then you could actually make up your own games too, because there's so many different manipulatives. So like my gears are turning in my brain, like, oh, I can make a bunch of game schooling games based on these parts in this game box. So we'll see how that goes.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I haven't heard of that before.
No, I haven't heard. Yeah, we'll take a look at that one.
So you're gamifying your homeschool, and you know, I'm sure your daughter's loving that.
Yeah, and even video games work for that, because she and my husband played Breath of the Wild, and there was so much logic in that. And they also played chess together, but there was, I think, more logic in Breath of the Wild than I think they did in chess.
That's for Switch, right?
Yeah, that's on Nintendo Switch. And the Nintendo's been great because we've been pretty safe during the pandemic. And the only way we could play with her friends or my family in California was through Nintendo. And my little brother's a big gamer, so we were able to all play Mario Kart together, and Super Mario Maker, where you construct different Mario courses and then have your friends play that. And then that game you can also tie in to the Around the World study, because you can play different people from different countries upload their game, and it says their title in that country's native language, and it has the flag for that country. So my dad will be like, "Oh, what flag is that?" I was like, "Oh, I happen to have a globe right here beside me." point out the country, and then it's like, all right, geography checked off for the day.
Yeah, it's like a modern Excite Bike, right? Kind of like where you make your own course.
Yeah, exactly. That one's a lot of fun if you guys don't have that.
Yeah, we don't have a Switch yet. I'm trying to determine which year we'll purchase that. But so you're playing all these games, you're having lots of fun doing crafts and movies and all kinds of things. Is this what you thought homeschooling would be like before you started? I mean, I'm sure that teachers have some preconception about like what homeschool is. You know, what did you used to think it was? How is it the same or different than what you thought?
I probably used to think it was just like that mother and son in that Harrison Ford movie Witness. Like that's how I
Right.
imagine homeschoolers taking them.
Terrible.
She goes right to the Amish.
Minus the murderer
No murder.
observation.
No murder.
And they probably had a school there, so that kid probably wasn't even homeschooled. But like that's what's in my brain.
Ariel, I'll be Harrison Ford in your thing.
Exactly. But yeah, like it's not how it is at all. And I don't really know many homeschoolers in real life, sadly, but I'm hoping to start joining groups now that the world's opening up again and I'm not pregnant and terrified of getting COVID. Now we can start actually doing things. And I'm hoping to meet more people because that's what's really missing right now. I feel in our homeschool is like the social aspect. So I want to join like some kind of like forest school or like get my daughter involved in theater, and she wants to do gymnastics and dance. She basically wants to do everything because she couldn't do anything for the last 2 years.
No, understandable.
It's understandable. So what's the climate like there in New Mexico? Is it a very friendly homeschool state? What kind of like regulations and things do you have there?
Oh gosh, nothing. All I had to do was sign up. It took me 2 minutes online, and it says you have to have a high school degree, but no one ever asked me for it. So I literally just said like, yeah, this is my name and I'm homeschooling. She was 5 at the time, my 5-year-old. And no one has ever contacted me since. So
Wow.
I guess I don't have to do any record keeping or anything like that.
Do you anticipate continuing with homeschool into the future?
Definitely through elementary school.
Okay.
And it just depends on, I guess, like financially, whether we can like afford a private school or because the schools here are not good. So I wouldn't want to put my daughter into just any school here. Yeah, so we'll just play it by ear because she is very social, but she also she does like horseback riding, and I know she wants to get into like showing horses and doing theater, and she keeps asking to do like movies and things. So I don't know if we're gonna like start that and try to get her an agent or anything like that, but yeah, so we'll just see like how much time we have and whether just keep doing what we're doing or look into a school.
So definitely having a baby was a big challenge for you this year, and trying to figure out how to kind of keep sort of going in your homeschool while taking care of a newborn. Were there any other challenges that came up, even before that with your kind of first real homeschooling year now that your daughter was in kindergarten?
Challenge came up right after I had a baby because I had a post-secondary hemorrhage right after, 2 weeks after. And I had to go to the hospital for emergency surgery. And then I just wasn't feeling myself for a couple of weeks after because then I became anemic. And so I'm just now starting to not feel dizzy. So that was definitely a challenge. So like I said, the past 2 months, like I don't really know too much about what homeschooling is going to be like with a new baby because I haven't really done it because we had the baby and then immediately I hemorrhaged. So we'll see. But other challenges, I think just moving in general is a huge challenge for any family to go through, especially to a new state where you don't know anyone.
Yeah.
So that was definitely challenging. And I think that was also one of the reasons why I just made it more of a fun year and not concentrating so much on the academics.
Well, leaning into your experience as, an educator and whatnot, a lot of parents who are doing homeschooling, especially in these early years, are afraid of, I'm not doing enough, or my kid's not learning enough, or, they're getting behind and I'm causing damage to their, long-term prospects in life type of thing. They start to catastrophize. You had a very loose and fun and, exciting and game schooling, very atypical experience with respect to, a first year or second year early learners experience like kindergarten, first grade. Can you say to those parents who might be a little bit stressed out about whether or not they're doing enough that, do you have any message to those people?
Yeah, I would say you're absolutely doing enough just by caring for your child and reading them good books and just engaging with them and listening to their interests and playing with them. And all that is enough. I mean, especially for the kindergarten year. I mean, they're 5 and 6-year-old, they're just babies and they're learning about the world and finding out what their interests are. And you just want to really make sure that that they're starting to develop interest and just like, it's like, you just want them to get excited about learning. Like we'll do some mystery sciences, like that's a really great website. And then she gets excited about like a certain topic, like she saw a volcano episode of that. So then we like did the whole baking soda vinegar thing with volcanoes, just little sparks. And like, you don't need a whole science curriculum in kindergarten, just go off their interests, see what sparks, and then just kind of like find something. You don't even have to do a whole unit study, because I know with 5 and 6 year olds, their interests change overnight. So by the time the stuff you order from Amazon for the unit study comes in, it's all, the whole thing's over with anyway. So Epic is a great subscription to get the books. Do you know that? Epic?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but we haven't tried it ourselves. Definitely explain for our listeners who might not have heard of it.
It's kind of like, I think their tagline is, we're the Netflix of children's books. And so like whatever, they have all the Nat Geo books. And so if my daughter was interested in honeybees one day, like we watched a YouTube video on honeybees, and then I went on Epic and we read like little like science readers about honeybees. We also did that for ants. And so anything that sparks their interest, you can be like, oh yeah, let's quick go on and we'll read a couple of nonfiction books about that. And we did that for Groundhog Day. We did a little like mini groundhog unit study. We didn't watch the movie. I feel like that's a little too old at the moment. But well, we read like the Gail Gibbons groundhog story, and then we watched Puxatawny Phil look for his shadow, and then we did an art project. And then she got an idea to make our dog Puxatawny Phil. So she put a little top hat on him and then filmed this elaborate like 25-minute video with my phone about like Groundhog Day and how she was like the interviewer, and whether like our dog was seeing their shadow or not. So I basically went off and like did dishes. I'm like, all right, you can handle that. But yeah, just like learning happens constantly and everywhere, and you don't have to force it or even like facilitate it, because they're going to find things to do on their own that they're interested in, and it'll get excited about it. And I also think that kindergarten now in the public school system, they're doing way too much, and they're causing so much pressure and stress on the kids and parents. And I have tutoring clients, and the parents are actually like crying when they're telling me about their daughter or their son and how they only know 20 of the 72 sight words or whatever the number is. And I had like one mom's like, I failed my son because he doesn't know his sight words. I was like, oh my gosh, you haven't at all. And it breaks my heart, the amount of stress they have on learning to read, because then I'll get my students and they already don't like reading because they're feeling so much pressure. So I think that just relaxing a bit will help in the long run. Like with my daughter, how we're only doing CVC words this year. And just because I could tell, like at first she really wanted to learn, and then she kind of like lost interest, and I just didn't want to push because of my tutoring experience. And I know like what pushing, how it can backfire. So I was really careful not to do that with my daughter.
Yeah, it seems almost like a paradox. They're almost doing too much in the younger years and then almost too little in the end of the high school years. I remember, gosh, this, when I was in college, I remember hearing professors, my physics professors in the hallways, in essence, gossiping and complaining that these kids coming into, the basic physics class, they don't even know how to do math. Like they're like, why do I have to waste half my year catching them up on things they should have already gotten in high school? It's like, it's this weird paradox. There's just no coherent through line on, where does the rigor begin and where does it not?
Exactly. And then they're going to burn out by the time they're in 3rd grade, and they don't want to even read for fun anymore.
Exactly.
So much pressure has been put on them.
Yeah, that was a big concern of ours too. Just the amount of pressure that kids are under and the amount of homework that they bring home was a big concern of ours. And we hear from a lot of parents when they started homeschooling after the pandemic, they're like, wow, there's so much more of our day is free.
Yeah. It was funny because it was like, we don't remember much homeschool in our younger years. I mean, obviously in high school, I had a lot of homework, but that was to be expected. And then when we go off to college, we're like, okay, we're in college, but we saw our cousins getting just inundated. And then once we get out, we get jobs. We have our coworkers that are lamenting the fact that their 8 and 9 year olds have 2 hours of homework every night. And we're like, scratching our head. I'm like, I don't remember doing that
Yeah.
when I was in 8 or, second or third grade.
I remember being pregnant with our first daughter, sitting in a breastfeeding support group when I was just like in my last trimester. And one of the moms saying, oh, I have to find a baseball league that's going to have practices and games on the weekend, for my 6-year-old. And it's like, or 7-year-old. And I was like, oh, why? And she goes, well, he has so much homework. We can't practice baseball during the week. He has to do it all on the weekend. Like he's 7,
That's sad. And I'm actually, some families will hire me just to help their children with their homework because it's just causing too much stress and they can't even deal with it anymore. And so I'm just, they come on, they see me twice a week and I just do math homework with them because it was causing tears and like the parents were just getting too stressed out. And you come home and have to do like an hour or 2 of homework, and then you have dinner, and then you put your kids to bed, and then you like have barely seen them. It's just heartbreaking.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's something that, we're so grateful all this time that we have and this flexibility that we have. And it clearly sounds like that's something that's really benefited your family as well, having this new baby and then you having to go back into the hospital. Homeschooling was flexible when you needed it to be in the way that you needed it to be.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll be great too, because my husband, since he will go off filming in different places. And then a lot of time we have the opportunity to go stay at the hotel with him. And so we could go and just drop everything. And we won't be able to do that if we were in the public school system or any school system, really.
Yeah. What a neat and enriching experience for your kids to get to go on location when they're shooting something and get to see different areas and have those experiences.
Yeah, I was so mad this year because I was pregnant and didn't want to travel, but he flew to Florida and it was close to Disney World. And I was like, oh man, if it was any other year, if it wasn't a pandemic and I wasn't 8 months pregnant. Yeah. And then he was in Taos, New Mexico. And this was a little worrisome because it was 2 weeks before the baby was due and he was up in the mountains. So he was 4 hours away. And then once he was at the hotel, he had to take a snowmobile and a ski lift to the job. And so then he was another hour away on top of some mountain. And I'm just praying, please don't go into labor. Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then my water ended up breaking, but luckily he happened to be home. It was the one night that month he was home that my water broke.
Meant to be.
Yeah.
Well, this has just been great. I think this is good. As much as you feel like, it hasn't been formalized this year, it's been kind of chaotic. You've done different things. This is exactly the reason that we do these interviews, because other families are also having a year that's been crazy and they've had medical issues or they've moved or they've had something going on and they're feeling like, my gosh, I'm not really homeschooling or, everyone else is all together. And I think this is great. Just that you're continuing learning, you're finding a way to make it work for your family amongst all kinds of different things that are going on. This is perfect.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no, this is what it's about, is showing everybody that there's homeschooling looks a lot of different ways and it looks different at different times in people's lives, depending on what's going on and how they've found ways to adapt and make things work and keep going and keep finding that joy and educating their kids.
Yeah,
and definitely personalize any curriculum you use, make it your own. And, you just want to make those memories with your children and have fun.
Yeah. Thanks so much. That's a great way to be.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Oh, sure. Thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time.
Happy homeschooling!